For great ideas and practical tools you can start using tomorrow to grow your business and separate you from the competition, you've come to the right place. If you're into B2B marketing and sales, then welcome to the one and only B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast. With over 60 and counting total years in the trenches of businesses small and large, they have a plethora of knowledge and experience that generate you more leads, capture more clients, ring up more sales. Well, doggone it, just make you more money. How about that? Always thought-provoking, yet dubiously entertaining. Please welcome to their respective microphones across 3 time zones, your co-ringmasters, the Dave Loomis, and not the rock star, Steve Miller.
Think you know what you're talking about?
I think. I'll wing it if I
I'll be the judge of that. And thank you, everybody. Hey, everybody, it's Steve Miller, better known as Kelly Dad, Marketing Gunslinger. I already started recording, and that's just the way it is, okay? And, Mary Rose is here with me. I will introduce her in just a second, but obviously this is the B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast, normally with me and my crazy compatriot. He's just a wild man, okay? David Mayo Loomis, okay? And I always love showing his book, okay? He never shows my book. Okay, for those of you that are watching on video, if you're listening, then pay no attention to this. All right, but on video, you can see I'm holding up his book. Marketing is Everything We Do. I love this book. If you don't have it and you're in marketing, you should get it. Okay, today. All right, why am I frozen? Am I frozen to you?
You do look frozen to me.
What's going on? What the heck is going on here? Let me turn off the video. Because that's no good. All right, so now I'm back. All right, and like I said, I don't do editing, so this is where we are, guys. Okay, this is how far advanced I am in the technical world. All right, but and I know there are some of you who are saying you should have stayed frozen, Steve. So anyway, with that, I want to introduce our guy, David Mayo Loomis. I don't know where he is. David, if you can hear me, call your mom. And I am here today with somebody I've actually known for many years, and there's a little bit of a story that I'm going to talk about here in just a second, and we'll see what she has. This is Mary Rose McGuire, but she goes by Mary Rose Wildfire McGuire. Welcome, Mary Rose.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate being here, Steve.
Now, we don't normally have somebody who has such a frilly background as you do. Most of the people that come on here, they either got nothing. We've had people come on, they just have pure white backgrounds. Most have like their office or something like that. This is the first time we've had something that I would say is very zen. And I actually think it's nice. It's a nice contrast to the atmosphere that is normally taking place in these things. So can I, is there a reason why you picked that background?
Yeah, well, first, I really do like almost anything Japanese-wise.
Japanese.
So I'm really big into cherry blossoms. I saw this actually on Amazon. The whole point of it was because I had a very messy background, and I thought I have to cover this up. And so I got a screen divider. That's what. And
it's not a virtual. See,
no, it's not virtual.
I'm going to tell all of you out there, I hate those. Okay, there's a reason to use green screen, and there's a reason, But when you're doing this type of stuff, have a background. All right. So, and of course, this has nothing to do with the topic that we're going to be talking about today. But Mary Rose, how many years ago would you say we first connected?
Oh my gosh. Oh boy. I want to say it was maybe around 2017 or so.
Oh, I thought it was longer than that.
Or maybe 2016.
All right. Well, okay. I'm gonna remind you of something.
Okay.
And it might actually spur a date in your mind. Okay. I remember when you asked me what I thought of Wildfire.
Oh, okay.
You were thinking about having some type of personal brand,
Yes.
and you asked my opinion. You remember how long ago that was?
Oh, golly.
When you first did that?
Yeah,
it's been a while, right?
Yeah, I think at this point now, I think it's more like around 2015.
Yeah, at least. I'm thinking it was 10 years ago, but anyway. So, so I always think it's fun when I even if I have just a little tiny bit of a old connection with people, it makes a big difference. Okay, now let me introduce you to Mary. Let me introduce you to Wildfire. Wildfire. All right. Okay. Wildfire is the founder of Star Maker Marketing, which was formerly McGuire Copywriting, and creator of the book writing program Book It. Star Maker Marketing offers business owners and thought leaders the opportunity to share their expertise with ghostwriting services, book writing, coaching, and book promotion marketing strategies through multiple channels. I'm old, so every time I hear the word channel, I just think of the channel on the TV. But that's not what these are all about. Her specialty is helping financial advisors write and publish lead generation books. So again, thank you very much for joining us today, because we're going to talk about book publishing. Our listeners on the podcast and viewers that watch the videos are primarily B2B people. Marketers, owners of small businesses in the B2B world. And I've actually said to many of these people, write a book. Okay. And so let's just start with that statement right there, because you're nodding your head.
Yes. It is one of the most important marketing assets that anyone could have. There's lots of good marketing assets. You've got blog posts, a website. There's even ebooks. But I talked with, I'm in the midst of conversation with someone who we may work together. But he admitted he had written a book, but it was only in a digital form. So it was a PDF. And then he actually self-published a book. And he said, people liked what I did before with the PDF, but he said, as soon as I had a printed book, I was treated differently. It was a different response. So, and I just came back from a wonderful marketing conference in Cleveland, Dan Kennedy's world.
His world, was it
No, it was not a Dan Kennedy event.
Okay, he's from
he lives.
Yeah,
right.
and
right,
sort of lives there. Yeah,
right. This was a conference that was organized by a guy named Joe Pulizzi, and Joe Pulizzi is the founder of Content Marketing Institute. He it became so successful, he sold it, then acted like he was retired, but he's much too young to be retired. So now his focus is helping smaller businesses and entrepreneurs, the creators. And the name of the conference was Creator Economy Expo. So the Creator Economy Expo. And in this conference and in his research, he said like one of the top things that you can do is write a book as far as like your marketing efforts go. So writing a book is it puts you on a completely different level, and you're in a different, you're no longer kind of playing second string. You're out there in the field. You're the star.
Because, especially when you say like you're talking about a real physical book now,
right?
Publishing a real physical book.
I have my copy here, everybody, of Steve's book, a copy book.
That up, okay? We're both gonna. All right.
That's right.
See, here we go. All right, and unequivocally, I would agree with your statements. That being a published author gives you a different level in people's minds.
Yes.
What do you think that is? Why is that if somebody writes a book, that happens? Why do you think that?
I think it's because we've been trained already to look at an author as an expert. And that training started when we were little kids, in school, textbooks. Textbooks had an author on it. And we knew that book, we're being taught something important that we needed to know. The teacher thought it was important enough. School thought it was important enough, to make this mandatory reading. So that training is already in there, that when you hold a book, and it is the physical act of holding a book. I know my husband's really into Kindle, and I like my Kindle books, but I still love my print books. When you hold that book, you realize this is somebody who is knowledgeable about something. This is someone who took the time to actually put that knowledge into book form that could help me, so I love learning. And so I'm all about books, but that I think is why it makes a difference, is because people realize as soon as they see a name on a book, they realize you must have had enough confidence in what it is in order to write that book.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. It's sort of been embedded in us.
Yes.
To think this way, and so now that has created and I can't think of which one it is, but in heuristics, there are different types of bias that people have, and I don't think this is the confirmation bias, but it's some type of bias that has been embedded in us. That yes, if you are an author, there is a credibility to you,
right?
That is high.
Right.
Absolutely is high. Now we're talking to B2B people, and I can imagine somebody. I mean, I was on the phone this morning with the owner of a pretty good sized B2B company in Pittsburgh, and I keep telling him, I said, I think you should write a book, and he's like, well, what? Well, he said, well, first of all, why would I write a book? And I said, well, because if you have a book to hand out to people, again, your credibility level goes up with them. And then he said, well, what would I write about? And what would you say to him? All right. So he's in, his company builds utility trucks and fleets, for, like you see a plumber's truck driving down the road, and it's that type of truck that, or a UPS truck or something like that. These are utility trucks, and his company, very successful, and they build these. Now he's the owner, been the owner for the company's been around for 41 years now. What would you say to him would be the reason why he should write this?
Okay. First, who does he sell his trucks to? Is it like larger corporations or individuals?
Corporations.
Okay. Corporations. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say, well, first off, my goodness, with all those years of experience, of course he should write a book, because he has seen so much. And what I would say to him is, okay, first, take a piece of paper and just jot down some of the biggest challenges corporations have when it comes to buying a fleet of trucks. What are the pain points? What is it that they struggle with? Now, then what is it you do differently? How do you address those pain points? How do you come across as, hey, I'm the one for you because I'm not like the other guys? Mm-hmm. And I bet he could come up with all sorts of reasons why people, are challenged with this, and whatever the friction is in the buying process, servicing, all of that. Mm-hmm. I mean, like if he has any kind of guarantees, or if, what about the after sale experience? Like, what does he do different? Is he there? And all, that's what I would say. I would say, write all these things down. Now, boom, you've got chapters. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be complicated. A book chapters, I mean, you could have between 5 to 10 chapters. You could have a mini book. You don't have to write. That's the other thing. A lot of times people think, oh gosh, writing a book, it's way overwhelming. They're thinking War and Peace, like that you have to have like this super thick book. It's like, no. You only have to have a few chapters. I worked with one financial advisor, for instance, and this was awesome. This was his idea, not mine. Mm-hmm. He wanted to take his PDFs and convert them into books. And so what I did is I edited the content. We refreshed the content. So everything was up to date and used up to date stats and examples and all of that. But his books, the shortest word count for one was 6,800 words, which is hardly anything. But we were able to put that into a 5x8 format and, expand the font size a little bit, enlarge it a little. So it was 14-point font. We kind of gave it a little bit more margin, but it worked out well. And he's got like this physical little book that he can give to people. So each one of his books, and we did 4 of them, by the way, at the same time, but each one of those books tackled a different aspect of a person's personal finance.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because in many books, 6,800 words would be a chapter.
Exactly.
But there's nothing wrong with it being a small book. We have Kay has a contact here in Seattle, an attorney, really successful attorney, who he has like 40 books.
Wow.
For all different possible. Like I saw one recently that he was promoting that, it's for pedestrians who got hit as they were walking across the street. Okay. And it's a book just for that situation. Right. And this guy's really successful and he just gives these books away. He doesn't sell them. He gives them away. And he's been doing this for years and growing his practice, tremendously. And I mean, that's also part of what we can be talking about are these books that you're going to make money off of selling the books or what? So, and let's hold that conversation for a minute. But what else I also told this guy, like what you just talked about, that is a book that you talked about for my guy. But what I also told him was that he had 40 years of knowledge.
Right.
And experience. And he could say, be something like what I've learned in 40 years of, and he could talk about, when it first started or when he first started the company and what the hurdles and challenges that he went through and stuff like that. And then the changing times of, to say like, okay, there was at some point where, computers showed up. Right. Well, how did that affect everything? Then the internet showed up, right? And of course now AI is changing everything all over again. So he's had all this experience, and that could be something that could be put into a book form as well. Now, so what I'm hearing you essentially talk about is self-publishing.
Yes. I'm all for self-publishing. I love self-publishing.
Well, I'm working on my 9th book right now, and of the 9 books, 5 of them were self-published, and the other 4 have been with a traditional publisher, and I have reasons for why I would pick one, either self-publish or use a publisher, But we made more money off our self-published books, of just the sales of the self-published books, than we did any of the other books. Okay. In fact, we probably, like one of our self-published books made us more money than the royalties we've made off of the other 4 books. So, because when you self-publish, you own it. You own it all. You own all the profit and everything. But if you go with a publisher, traditionally you're going to get 10%, of the sales, unless you're a really, really popular author or a really, really good negotiator. But you're still not going to move that needle very much.
Right.
Like I will say that my first book that I wrote, which was How to Get the Most Out of Trade Shows, and it came out back in 1990. It went on to be the number 1 selling trade show book of all time. And it did really, really well. But my royalties, I've often said, I paid for a couple of vacations, over the years, but, we treated it as a marketing tool.
Right.
And so Kay and I've always had this attitude about all of our books, published or self-published, is that I'm happy to, I just give it away. Just give it away. And I give them to everybody. I give them to people I've never met and that type of stuff. And that book, I would say, put without question, the results of that book was in for us was 7 figures. I mean, actually, probably 8 figures. I mean, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. So,
congratulations, by the way. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. I'm a good marketer, and because like you say to people, you should publish, and then go out and get these in everybody's hands. If self-publishing is the way that you're going to go, you still have to ask yourself the question, okay, because I think too many people, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. I think too many people, when they think of writing a book and self-publishing, they're thinking, okay, I'm going to sell a lot of books and I'm going to make money off of that. What would you say to them?
Well, my focus is lead generation books. So I would say, although, yes, this is a noble goal to sell books, and yes, you want to sell books. The real reason you want to write the book is because it establishes you as an authority. That's the real reason. And that is going to open up doors for you, not only with prospects, but it's going to open up doors for you for speaking engagements, for interviews with the media, because all of them are looking for experts. So when you have a book, it's almost, it's kind of tough to get those opportunities, like for speaking at a conference that's going to put you in front of a room full of prospects, for instance. I mean, if that trucking guy would, I'm sure they have some kind of industry conference, for these sort of things. And I mean, if he had a book, all of a sudden the doors would open. It's like, oh my gosh, we got to get this guy. He's got 40 years experience. He's an author, and he's going to tell us what we need, tell us what's going on and what it used to be and what's improved and what hasn't and what we need to look for. And you see, I mean, it's like that.
He would be what is known as an industry expert.
Exactly.
And would have that very specific knowledge and experience behind him that is packaged in this credibility, authority building thing called a book.
Right.
Okay. Well, and yeah, everything you just said, 100%, 100%. And for the people, now how do you? All right, let's talk about lead generation. That's the term. That's the phrase for what we're talking about here.
Right.
Okay. So somebody writes a book. All right. How do they use it for lead generation?
Well, the way that I do it,
beyond what you already said,
right.
I mean, but how do these people get that? I mean, they have to get it in their hands, right?
Right. Lead generation. Okay. There's kind of a couple ways to go with this question. One is to already have something set up inside your book that is going to be considered what is called a funnel. So, and you have one in your book and I have one in my book. It's like for more information, for more goodies, for bonus material, whatever, go here. And then you go to a website and it will have an opt-in form that's going to require a person to give you their name and contact information. So it could be address, but it could be email address usually. Boom, you start to build your list email list, I'm sorry. So that's one way with the lead generation. The other is when you have a book, you can use it in what you know and I know is a shock and awe box. So it depends on, of course, what kind of profession that you're in. But if you have a real high value prospect that you're going after, you want to put together a really nice box that's almost like a gift box, has maybe some, yummies in there, a little candy or, coffee or whatever, and bookmarks and whatever kind of promotional items you want to put in there, and then you put your book. And that is a great way to generate some leads, because all of a sudden this person receives this wonderful box and then they see inside, they're like, whoa, their book, they gave me a book. By the way, another thing to remember is people very rarely throw away a book. They'll throw away a business card like in a New York second, but they will not throw away a book. They'll put that book on a shelf, and you know what? They'll continue to, it'll catch their eye, depending on if you use a great color like orange, and they'll think of you. I mean, when they see that, oh yeah, that's Steve Miller. I need to contact him, set up a consultation.
I'll tell you a story about that.
Okay.
And plus, one thing I'm going to remind is you say that they never throw away a book. I'm going to not necessarily agree with that 100%, but I can fix it.
Okay.
Is that it's a signed book.
And
it's to on the inside it says, Mary Rose, love what you do. You're amazing at what you do. And I would love for you to, I hope you enjoy this gift of my book. And then I sign it. That will never be thrown away.
That's a very good clarifier. Yes.
In fact, they will often just pull it off the shelf to show people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, here, I'm going to plus that, and then I'll tell you my story real quick. I'm going to plus that. When I do that, and the shock and awe package is, I can't even tell you how much business my clients have gotten from doing really cool shock and awe packages. But when I send my book out to people, I send them the signed copy to them. It's personalized to them. And then I add 2 more copies that are just signed. And I tell them, if you have a friend or somebody who you think might enjoy this book, here, you can give this to them as a gift from you. And that has made a huge difference too. And what we often do is we send cold shock and awes to people. Okay. That we don't have contact with or anything like that. But we often do it just because when we read about somebody who we think is really cool, or somebody who's famous, and they sound like somebody who might fit the story of being uncopyable, which is our deal, right? We just send books to people. And we just go, God, I read this story about you in this magazine. It sounds so cool, and it fits our uncopyable philosophy and everything like that. That we're sending this to you as our gift, and that's it. That's the entire message, right? And then we send them that box, right? So a couple years ago, out of the blue, I get a call from a guy, and he says, "My name is Jim McInvale. I am known as Mattress Mac in Houston." And he said, "You sent me your book a while back." He said, "I read it. I loved it." He said, and I was thinking about contacting you. He said, but then I forgot about it. He said, "Last night I went to the opening game of the Houston Astros baseball season. When they came running out onto the field in their bright orange uniforms, I thought, Steve Miller." And he hired me on the spot.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome.
I ended up consulting with him on his stuff. I had nothing to do with his $1 million bets, but but we did some other stuff. He's a pretty interesting guy. But anyway, but see, that's a perfect example,
right?
Of,
right.
Of the power of a book, and also that it and it helps them to remember you.
Right, and branding. I mean, because you talk about that in your book. One of the things that I talk about is brand archetypes. And I'm trying to kind of push that idea out there, especially for those in the professional services world, because a lot of times when people think of brand, like you say, they think of a logo or the colors, and the colors are important for sure. I mean, that does help you be memorable, but a brand archetype, there are like 12 of them, usually around 12. There's some that I've seen that list more, but one of the more popular ones is the trusted advisor, otherwise known as the sage. So, when you use things like that, like colors and your own personality, that becomes your brand, like I said, especially if you're in the professional services world, that makes you memorable. That guy, I thought that was the coolest thing, that when that guy saw orange, it triggered you. Yep. It triggered like Steve Miller. I need to contact Steve Miller,
Yeah, and that's the purpose, is that we teach. Yeah. In fact, this is something that we teach in our, about the branding, doing branding, is that we say that you make a promise. All right, you make a promise, but you want to help them remember that promise. Okay, and so you create anchors that become triggers if they ever see something like that again. And so, like, color is one of those. I mean, if you saw, there are a lot of women on the planet that if they saw something pink, they would say Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Right.
Okay, because Mary Kay, that's their color, and
right.
So
red in the Red Hat Society. I don't know if you know about that, but when women become 50 years old, I think, or more, they started wearing these red hats, and red and purple, and it was taken from some poem. But it's like, when you saw, well, at least for a lot of women, they knew of this group. When you saw a bunch of women walking around and they all had red hats, it was like, the Red Hat Society. And you knew what they were about. Right.
Yeah, exactly right. So these are the types of things that you can use a book to help you establish credibility, help you establish authority, and get them to remember you.
Exactly.
Right. So that, I always say that, when the lightning bolt comes out of the sky and somebody who fits the profile, a prospect, somebody who fits the profile of your target market, if all of a sudden that lightning bolt strikes and they go, "Oh, I need help with this."
Right.
Right. Do they think of you first? Do they think of you second? Do they think of you at all? And the objective, our uncopyable mindset objective, is by using stuff like this. And this is one of the most important parts of establishing your brand in people's minds, is that you are the only one they think about.
Right.
Now, okay, we can talk about this, but we don't have that much time. Here's what I want to ask you. All right, you said there are 12 archetypes, and you mentioned the sage. How does somebody find out about the other 11?
Well, you can just go online and just, do a Google search for brand archetypes. You could do that. Unfortunately, I don't have a book. I didn't write a book about brand, although I am in the midst of writing my second book, and I'm co-writing it with a client of mine who is a financial advisor. And he is kind of, I'm going to have to try to convince him about the inclusion, how important it is to include the brand archetypes. But at any rate, you can just go online and there's lots of different articles that you could find, or you can just contact me. I have a PDF that I usually will send to people that, if they don't know anything about brand archetypes, I'll say, here you go.
All right. So now let's, because, you said here that you got because first of all, we're talking about book writing.
Yes.
Okay. So you have a resource for people on writing their book. And you gave me a link, and it's bit.ly /begin your book. But I will have that on the screen for people, and for those that are listening to it on the podcast, it will be in the show notes where they can reach out to get that resource. And then you've got another the Book at Home Study program.
Yes. I just released that about a month and a half ago. And it took me a while to get it together because I had other project work I was working on. But what this is, it is a home study program. It is based on my 8-week training program that I've worked with other people on how to get started on writing the book. Mm-hmm. And that is like determining what kind of a book you want to write, how to write the book chapters. I work with people on, helping them just basically craft that and giving them ideas on how to, come up with their ideas. And then we also talk about marketing. We talk about self-publishing. So I don't write the book for them, but what I do is I guide them on how to write that book. And so it's now an 8-session program called the Book It Home Study Program, and I have a $100 off coupon code that I created just for you and your listeners. And all you need to do is type in Steve.
Oh, you created that for me. I thought that was just your standard coupon code for that you set up.
No, I created it just for you.
So again, it's bit.ly/bookit or book it, BOOKIT. But I will have it here. I will have it in the show notes, and in the notes with the video as well, so that you can contact her. I will also have Wildfire's LinkedIn link.
Yep.
For you, and her website, which is really hard to remember, MaryRoseMcGuire.com. You're very fortunate you don't have the name Steve Miller, because Steve Miller's kind of I'm competing with too many people.
You're competing with a musician.
And there are other authors named Steve Miller. So anyway, but and of course we didn't even get into the how to write a book, how to get it how to self-publish it, or anything like that, which you have information on.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do.
And so I think anybody who's watching this or listening to this, you really should think about the possibility of writing a book. Now, I want to be honest. About this. And let me ask you, Mary Rose, do you like writing a book?
Well, for me, I do love it because I'm a writer, but I know not everybody's a writer.
You know what? I knew you were going to say that because I was ready for my response. You are a very sick person. Okay. Most of us that write books, and I'm working on my 9th. I'm an idiot. We are, anybody who loves writing, is a sick person. But I knew Mary Rose was going to say that. So, she loves writing, and but not for everyone. My standard joke about authors, and people who think like, oh, someday I'm going to write a book. Everybody wants to have a book,
right?
Nobody wants to write a book.
Exactly. Which is why I did what I did with Book It. I mean, I wanted to make it as easy as possible, as clear as possible, and as painless as possible. I have friends. Diana Boer. What does she have? She has 4,000 books. I don't know how many she has, but it's like, it's every week a new book comes out from Diana. So, there are people that do love to do this, but I want everybody to listen to this, that this is an amazing tool. Yes.
This is an amazing tool. And, and even when you self-publish, even if you self-publish a book like this. Okay, now this is a hardback. Now it's now out in paperback, but and paperback, you can publish a paperback book, for $3 a book.
Yeah, if I can just interject real quickly.
Absolutely.
This is my book. It's called The Maverick Advisor. The New Rules of Marketing for Financial Advisors and Consultants. Get great clients, more respect, and the fees you deserve. Now, it's not super thick either, okay? This is a 30,000 word book, and it's in a 7x9 format, printed format. But the thing is that when I self-published it, and I did use Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing, these books published, I pay basically the printing cost, $2.64.
Yeah. That's why I said like $3 a book.
Yeah.
And depending upon quantity, it can go under, but don't be stupid. When you first publish a book, don't go printing 5,000, 10,000 copies. Don't do that. But then it's cheap to just give them away.
That's right.
Give them away.
Right.
All right. I mean, I can tell you later on in other episodes here about how I made $500,000 off our self-published books, but it's a different approach, and it's a different way of doing things, and but that's not where we are here today. Today we're here to convince you, be a writer, write a book, and for somebody who can help you, Mary Rose Wildfire McGuire can do that, and you should contact her to help you with that. So what's our finishing thought here, Mary Rose?
Oh, goodness. Our finishing thought is the book that you write will change you probably more than it will change anyone else. That's the finishing thought, because once you write a book, you're going to walk with a little swagger. You're going to walk with your head up high into a room. The confidence level goes through the roof. So if you're confident now, just imagine that like times 10.
Yeah, the first time somebody asks you to sign the book, you're just kind of like, oh, what? And if you're like me and most published authors, you have special pens.
Oh my goodness, I love it. I love those.
All right, now this is the flare one where I use to make bigger. But this is a Mont Blanc.
Oh, I'm a big
very
fountain.
Rare. Very rare.
Wow, I love fountain pens, and I do collect some.
How about that? Orange Mont Blanc.
Yes, that's very rare.
So, yeah, but that's what we do as authors, and then we carry those around, and people go, "Oh, here," and they start to hand you pick. You go, "Nope, I got a pen right here." So thank you, Mary Rose, for joining me today. You have been listening to the B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast with Steve Miller and not the visible or even hearable Dave Loomis. Who knows where he is? He's out, I don't know, hanging out with his buddy Dermot Mulroney somewhere. I don't know. And we'll see you again later. And I have to finish the same way I always finish, just in Dave's words. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the one and only B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast, the source for B2B marketing and sales insight. If you enjoyed the podcast, please be sure to subscribe and leave these old guys a 5-star rating. Check the show notes for any links and contact information. You can always contact us by going to b2bmarketingsalespodcast.com. Thank you, and keep on marketing, keep on selling.